I never thought I would be here telling you this story. My name is Alex Monroe, and I was once a man who lived in the realm of facts and figures, grounded in the tangible. I worked as a geophysicist, specializing in the study of the Earth's natural processes, mapping out the unseen forces that shaped the world beneath our feet. I had no time for the intangible, the unprovable, or the things that could not be measured by science. The world to me was simple. What I could see, touch, and calculate, that was reality. For years, I found myself standing on the frozen expanse of Alaska, surrounded by ice and snow, my only companions being the cold wind and the hum of drilling equipment. But none of that mattered. It was just another day in the life of a scientist, no explorer, someone seeking answers beneath the Earth's surface. That all changed on February 12, 2025. The day my world as I knew it came crashing down. I had been on my latest expedition, venturing into the vast unknown, studying seismic activity beneath the frozen lands of the North. We were tracking mysterious electromagnetic signals, strange, erratic pulses that had been detected deep under the ice. It was nothing like anything I had encountered before, and my curiosity was piqued. There was something there, something that science could not explain, and it drove me to push the boundaries of what was known. It was still early in the morning when I woke up in our research base, the first rays of sunlight barely touching the icy horizon. The air felt different that day, heavier, colder, yet strangely still. I didn't know it then, but something inside me was already sensing that things were about to take a drastic turn. We were scheduled to drill deeper than ever before, in a location that had been emitting unusual low-frequency vibrations. Our goal was simple: gather data that could explain the strange electromagnetic signals. But as we dug deeper into the ice, strange things began to happen. Our equipment malfunctioned. Nothing major at first, just little glitches here and there. The GPS started acting erratically, and the radios began picking up static, strange whispers that didn't come from any of us. It felt as though the very fabric of reality was shifting, and my mind raced to understand what could possibly be causing it. But I couldn't explain it. I had no words for the unease that grew inside me as we continued our descent into the heart of the ice. It wasn't fear that gripped me, but something far more unsettling, an instinctive feeling that we were no longer in control. Then, at exactly 11:42 a.m., it happened. The ground beneath my feet gave way. One moment I was standing on solid ground, the next I was plummeting into the darkness, swallowed by the abyss below. There was no time to react, no time to scream. The ice, once solid and unyielding, fractured beneath me like glass. My body fell, tumbling through the black void, the wind howling in my ears, the coldness seeping into my very bones. And then there was silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer in the icy depths of the world I knew. I was above it, floating. My body, lifeless, was twisted and broken on the ice below, but I felt no pain. I should have been terrified, but instead I felt a calmness I couldn't explain. It was as if the fear and the struggle had been removed from me altogether. There was only peace and light. That's when I saw them. Figures in white, glowing with a radiance I couldn't comprehend, standing at the edge of the chasm, watching me with silent eyes. Their presence was unlike anything I had ever felt before. Powerful yet gentle. I couldn't understand it at first, but then I felt a pull, a force that drew me upwards, pulling me away from the frozen wasteland, away from the shattered remnants of my life. The world, as I had known it, began to fade. And before I knew it, I was surrounded by a light so pure, so brilliant, that it swallowed me whole. It wasn't just light, it was alive, humming with energy, with power. It felt as though it was calling me, beckoning me forward, urging me to step into it. And so I did. The light enveloped me, and as it did, I heard a voice. A voice so powerful, yet so gentle, that I knew immediately who it was. "Alex," the voice called to me. It was then that I knew. There was no doubt in my mind. No one had to tell me. I just knew it was him. The presence I had spent my whole life trying to ignore, trying to explain away with reason and logic, was standing before me. His light, his love radiated around me, and for the first time in my life I felt whole. His words echoed in my soul. "You have been brought here for a reason." Tears filled my eyes as I gazed at him, understanding in that instant that everything I had believed, everything I had worked for, was a lie. I had been chasing the wrong answers. I had been measuring the world with the wrong tools. But now I was seeing the truth. As I stood there, bathed in his light, the world around me shifted. The cold, the ice, the pain. All of it began to fade away. The darkness of my previous life disappeared, replaced by a peace that transcended everything I had ever known. And in that moment I understood my purpose. There was something I had to see, something I had to share. But what I didn't know was just how deep this truth would go. For those of you who want to hear more and become a part of our community, please leave a like and comment your name and city below. We would love to give a special shout out to those who engage with us. If you want to be mentioned in the next video and feel the excitement of seeing your name featured for all to hear, don't miss this opportunity. We are a community, and together we'll discover truths that can change our lives. Please subscribe to our channel as well and be a part of this journey. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to have you with us every step of the way. The light faded, but the peace remained. I found myself standing in a place that defied all logic and understanding. It wasn't the world I knew. It wasn't Earth as I had come to know it. No, this place, this realm, was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The air felt different, thicker somehow, as if it carried with it the weight of all existence. There was no sky, no horizon, just an infinite expanse of light that stretched out before me, endless and unbroken. And at the center of it all stood a figure, more powerful than anything I had ever known. He stood before me, his presence radiating with a warmth that I had never felt in my life. It was as though every fear, every doubt, every question I had ever carried was washed away in his presence. His gaze, deep, knowing, and full of compassion, pierced through me in a way no human being ever could. In that moment, I knew I was in the presence of something far greater than anything I could have ever fathomed. "You are here," he said, his voice soft yet full of authority. "And you are here for a reason." I wanted to speak, to ask questions, but his eyes held me. They were eyes that had seen the beginning and would see the end, eyes that carried the weight of eternity. I was overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of his presence, by the way he seemed to know everything about me without a single word being spoken. But then something else happened, something I could not explain. The world around me shifted again. The light that surrounded us began to pulse, its glow flickering like the beating of a heart. And in that pulsing light I saw images, visions, things that seemed to be unfolding before me in real time. I saw the world I knew, but it was different. It was as though I was looking at it from a distance, seeing it as it truly was. I saw Antarctica, but not as I had ever known it. The ice walls that had been a mere geographical feature to me were now revealed as something more. They were not just barriers of nature. They were not simply frozen remnants of a distant past. No, they were seals. Sacred seals placed by divine authority to protect something hidden beneath them. And I understood in that moment that these walls had been put there for a reason. They were a safeguard against something far older, far darker, than I could ever have imagined. Jesus spoke again, his voice filled with a sorrowful urgency. "The world is blind to what lies beyond these walls. But you, Alex, you will see." The scene around me shifted again, and I found myself standing on what seemed to be solid ground. But it wasn't ice, not like the ice I had come to know. The surface beneath my feet was alive, pulsing with energy, as if the very earth itself was breathing. And before me, stretching out as far as the eye could see, were massive structures. Cities, fortresses, the ruins of an ancient civilization, unlike anything I had ever seen before. These were not human creations. No, they were something else. Something older, something far beyond the capabilities of humanity. Their architecture was beyond comprehension, their designs geometrically impossible, shifting and moving as if they were alive. They were structures that should not exist, and yet, there they were, stretching out beneath the ice. I looked at Jesus, my mind racing to make sense of it all. But there was no need for words. He knew my thoughts before I even spoke them. He simply gestured to the structures before us. "They have been hidden for a reason," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of ancient knowledge. "And soon the world will seek to uncover them. But they are not ready. The world is not ready." And then, in a flash of vision, I saw it. I saw the world's leaders, the scientists, the very people I had once trusted, standing before these ancient ruins, unaware of the true power they were about to unleash. I saw them drilling deeper into the ice, believing they were uncovering history, uncovering the past. But what they were truly doing was disturbing something far older, something far darker, than they could ever comprehend. And as the scene played out before me, I understood the gravity of it all. The ice walls were not just a barrier to keep the world out. They were a safeguard to keep what was hidden beneath the ice sealed away. But that seal was beginning to crack. "The enemy," Jesus said, his voice dark with sorrow, "is preparing to deceive the world. What you are about to witness is the beginning of a great deception." The words hit me like a hammer. I couldn't understand what I was seeing, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever lay beyond those ice walls, whatever had been sealed away for so long, was not something that should be unleashed upon the world. What I witnessed next is something I cannot fully describe in words. As I stood there, surrounded by the pulsing energy of that living earth, I could feel something shifting within me. Something was awakening, something that had been dormant for far too long. The vision of those colossal ancient structures before me grew clearer with each passing moment, as if they were reaching out to me, calling me to uncover their secrets. Jesus stood beside me, his presence a constant, unyielding force of love and truth. He didn't need to speak for me to understand that what I was about to witness would change everything I had ever known. But still, I couldn't shake the questions that burned within me. Why had I been chosen to see this? What was it that I was meant to do with this knowledge? "Do not be afraid, Alex," he said, his voice tender yet firm. "What you are seeing is not a mistake. This is the truth that the world has been blind to. And you have been chosen to see it." The words reverberated within me, settling deep into my soul. I had spent my life studying the earth, measuring its forces, interpreting its signals, but what I was seeing now was beyond anything that could be explained by science. This wasn't just a discovery. This was a revelation. And then, without warning, the scene shifted again. The bright, otherworldly light around us dimmed, and I found myself standing at the edge of a vast, frozen abyss. Below me, deep within the ice, I could see figures, dark, shadowy forms that seemed to move with a purpose. They were not human. They were something else, something far older and more dangerous. My heart raced as I looked at Jesus, desperate for answers. But he only nodded, as though he knew exactly what I was feeling. "The world believes that the ice holds only cold, empty nothingness," he said. "But beneath this ice lies the key to understanding the greatest deception that has ever been laid upon humanity." I couldn't comprehend what he meant. The abyss before me seemed to stretch on forever, and yet, I knew deep within me that it was more than just a physical chasm. It was a threshold, a boundary between what humanity had been taught to believe and what was truly hidden beyond the veil of their understanding. In that moment I understood. The ice walls were not just barriers meant to keep out the unknown. They were meant to keep the world safe from the ancient forces lying dormant beneath. Forces that had been sealed away by divine intervention, kept from humanity's reach for millennia. "The enemy will try to deceive them," Jesus said, his voice laced with sorrow. "And the world will believe the lie. They will be led to think that what is coming is a gift, a salvation. But in truth, it will be their undoing." I wanted to ask more questions to understand fully what he was saying, but before I could speak, the scene shifted again. I found myself looking down at the world, at the familiar earth I had studied for years. But now I saw it through new eyes, through the eyes of truth. I saw the governments, the leaders, the scientists, all of them moving closer and closer to Antarctica. They were not just exploring the region, they were seeking something they had been waiting for. And soon they would find it. The truth will be revealed, Jesus said, his voice carrying a sense of finality. But it will not be the truth the world expects. It will be the beginning of the greatest deception in human history. As I stood there, looking down at the world I had once known, I felt a deep sense of urgency. This was not just about ancient structures or hidden civilizations. This was about the future of humanity. This was about the battle between good and evil, one that had been fought in the shadows for centuries, and now it was coming to light. But there was still so much I didn't understand. What would happen when the world uncovered the truth? What would they do with the knowledge they were about to receive? And more importantly, how could I help them prepare for what was coming? Remember, Alex, Jesus said, as though reading my thoughts. Your role is not to force the truth upon them. Your role is to share it. Those who are ready to hear it will listen. And those who are not, they will be deceived. With those words, the scene faded, and I found myself standing once more in the silent, frozen landscape of Antarctica. The world seemed quiet, too quiet, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. But I knew the world was on the verge of awakening. And I knew that it was my mission to share what I had learned, to warn those who would listen. The world was beginning to change, and the truth I had seen was starting to unfold. What had once been a distant, almost fantastical notion in my mind was now becoming all too real. The vision that Jesus had shown me was playing out before my eyes, like a prophecy coming to life, and I was caught in the middle of it. The deception that he warned me about was creeping into the world, spreading its roots deep into the fabric of society. I could see the leaders of the world moving closer to Antarctica. Their curiosity was growing, and with it, their determination to uncover the secrets buried beneath the ice. What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly understand, was that their pursuit of knowledge was leading them into the hands of something far darker than they could ever imagine. I saw the headlines, the news reports, the whispers of something groundbreaking about to be revealed. Scientists were preparing to share their findings with the world, and the public was ready to embrace it. It was the next step in human evolution, they would say. A discovery that would change everything. But I knew the truth. This wasn't about evolution. It wasn't about progress. It was about deception. I could feel it in my bones. This was the enemy's plan unfolding before me, the greatest trick ever played on mankind. The world would soon be presented with something so captivating, so seemingly miraculous, that they would willingly accept it. And in doing so, they would be led down a path from which there would be no return. Jesus had shown me the truth, but now it was my responsibility to share it. It wasn't enough to simply see it. I had to warn others. I had to help them understand what was coming. Because deep down I knew that if the world didn't wake up, the consequences would be catastrophic. But how could I make them believe? How could I convince people that the world they thought they knew was being manipulated by forces beyond their comprehension? I thought back to the moment when I first realized the truth, the overwhelming sense of urgency I had felt when I saw the ice walls, the ancient ruins, the dark figures that had been sealed away for centuries. There was no time to waste. The world needed to hear this message, and they needed to hear it now. I wasn't sure how to reach them, but I knew I had to try. I started small, sharing my story with those I trusted, with those who had open hearts and discerning minds. Some listened, others didn't, but I kept going. I couldn't stop now. The truth had to be shared. And as the days passed, I began to see signs, small but significant signs, that people were starting to listen. I wasn't alone in this. Others, too, had seen the deception unfolding. Scientists, researchers, and former government officials reached out to me, sharing their own stories of what they had witnessed. They had seen things they weren't supposed to see, things that had been kept hidden from the world. But time was running out. I knew that the world was on the brink of something far greater than we could ever anticipate. And I had to act quickly. I had to share this truth before it was too late. I didn't know how the world would react when they finally uncovered what had been hidden beneath Antarctica. But I knew one thing for certain. The deception was already underway, and the truth was the only weapon we had to fight it. If you're watching this and you feel the urgency of this message, Please leave a like and comment below with your name and the city you're watching from. We would love to give you a special shout out in the next video. It's an amazing way to feel connected to this journey. And if you want to be part of our community, don't forget to subscribe so we can continue exploring the truth together. Your support means so much, and we can't wait to have you join us as we uncover more of the mystery. I was standing at the edge of the world, and the realization hit me like a tidal wave. Everything I had known, everything I had been taught, was about to be turned on its head. The ice walls, the ancient cities beneath the surface, the deceptive truths I had uncovered, it was all a puzzle that was now coming together in ways I couldn't fully grasp. The world was teetering on the brink of a new reality, one that would test everything humanity thought they knew. As I looked out across the icy wasteland, the whispers that had been plaguing my mind grew louder. They were not mere echoes, not just sounds that existed in the wind. They were voices, voices I couldn't understand, but I could feel them. Their presence was everywhere, seeping into the very air, vibrating through the ice, and pulsing with energy far beyond anything I had ever encountered. What I had once dismissed as superstition, as myth, was now undeniable. These weren't just electromagnetic signals coming from beneath the surface. No, this was something far greater, something ancient, something alive. I turned to Jesus, seeking understanding, seeking answers to the questions that had been swirling in my mind since I first saw the vision. But as he gazed at me, his eyes full of compassion and sorrow, I knew he already knew what I was feeling. "The enemy is already at work," he said, his voice calm but filled with unmistakable urgency. "They are preparing the world to receive the lie, and when it comes, many will not be able to see the truth." I nodded, struggling to understand. "But how? How can they not see it?" "The enemy does not use force," Jesus replied. "He uses deception. And when the world finally sees what's beneath the ice, they will be told it is a gift, a new beginning. But it will not be. It will be the end of everything they know." I shuddered at the thought. The weight of his words settled deep within me. Everything I had worked for, everything I had believed, had been leading me to this moment. The world was about to be deceived on a scale far beyond anything I could have imagined. The truth that lay beneath the ice was not a gift. It was a trap. And once the world opened that door, there would be no going back. I could see it in my mind's eye. The leaders of the world, the scientists, the powerful figures who had long coveted the secrets hidden beneath Antarctica, standing together, celebrating their findings. They would call it a breakthrough, a new age for humanity. But I knew deep down that what they would be unleashing wasn't evolution. It was destruction. "What can I do?" I asked, my voice heavy with desperation. "You must share what you have seen," Jesus said, his hand resting gently on my shoulder. "There is still time, but it is running out. Warn those who will listen. Prepare them for what is coming. There are forces at work that no one understands, but you must be their voice." The gravity of his words sank deep into my soul. I was no longer just a witness to this unfolding truth. I was part of it. I had been chosen for this moment, and it was my responsibility to share what I had learned. But the challenge was immense. How could I make the world believe me? How could I make them understand that the truth they were being fed was a lie, a carefully constructed illusion designed to lead them astray? I thought of the people I had known, the colleagues I had worked with, and the world I had once been a part of. How could I break through their skepticism? How could I reach them when the truth was so terrifying, so unbelievable, that even I had struggled to accept it? I knew what I had to do. Had to speak out. I had to share this revelation, even if it meant standing alone, even if it meant risking everything. Because I knew in my heart that this was not just a story, it was a warning. I had seen what was coming. I had seen the great deception unfold before my eyes. And I couldn't stay silent. The world needed to hear the truth, and I would do whatever it took to make sure they did. The days following the revelation felt like a blur. Time seemed to stretch and bend, warping as I grappled with the overwhelming weight of the truth that had been shown to me. Every waking moment was filled with the urgency of what I had witnessed, the vision of the dark forces slowly creeping into the world, and the lies that were being carefully spun around the discovery of Antarctica's hidden secrets. The realization that the deception was already unfolding was chilling, but even more so was the truth that no one would be prepared for it. I had done everything I could to prepare myself. I had opened my heart and mind to the truth that Jesus had revealed to me. I had seen the signs, heard the warnings, and felt the gravity of the mission he had entrusted to me. But the fear still gripped me, the fear of what would happen when the world began to learn the truth. The leaders of the world, the scientists, and the powerful figures behind the scenes. None of them knew what they were truly uncovering. What they believed to be a scientific breakthrough was, in reality, the beginning of humanity's greatest trial. The deeper I looked into the situation, the more I understood the depth of the enemy's plan. What they would present to the world as enlightenment was actually a carefully constructed illusion designed to lead humanity down a path of destruction. They would tell the world that the discoveries in Antarctica were proof of our true origins, that it was the next step in human evolution. But the truth was much darker. And the moment the world accepted this lie, the door would be opened for something far more sinister to enter. It wasn't just a physical battle. It wasn't about uncovering ancient structures or understanding the mysteries hidden beneath the ice. This was a battle for the very soul of humanity. A battle for truth, for spiritual discernment, for the connection that each person has with the divine. And as the truth began to unfold, I realized the true nature of the mission I had been given. This was not just about sharing facts or information. It was about awakening the world to the deception that was creeping into their lives, about helping people see beyond the veil, and urging them to hold on to their faith. "Stay close to me," Jesus had told me. "The deception will be strong, but those who are awake will not be fooled." And so I began to prepare. I knew that the world would not understand what was happening, and many would reject the truth. But there were others, people who were ready to hear it, people who had eyes to see and ears to hear. It was for them that I was speaking, for them that I was sharing this message. And as I spoke, I realized something. This was not just a personal mission. It was a community effort. We were all in this together, sharing the same truth, fighting for the same cause. Together, we would rise up against the deception, against the lies that had been fed to the world for so long. And as I stood on the precipice of this great revelation, I felt a surge of peace wash over me. I knew that no matter what happened next, I had done my part. The message had been shared, the warning had been given. Now, it was up to the world to decide what they would do with it. If you feel the urgency of this message and want to join our community, please leave a like and comment your name and city below. We'd love to give you a special shout out in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, as it would truly help us reach more people with a message. We do this because we care, not for profit but out of passion for sharing the truth. Your like and subscription would mean a great deal to us as we continue this journey together. Thank you for being part of our community. Everything I had seen, everything I had learned had led me to this moment. The weight of the truth, the urgency to share it, and the realization that the world was on the cusp of a great awakening, or a great deception, had become my mission. I had shared everything I knew, every vision, every revelation. But there was still so much more to uncover, so much more to prepare for. I knew that this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be difficult, but I wasn't walking it alone. The community that had formed through this message was stronger than I could have ever imagined. The deception was still unfolding, and the lies were growing, spreading across the world like wildfire. But those who had heard the truth, who had awakened to what lay beyond the surface, were beginning to rise. They were not alone. We were all in this together. As I reflected on everything I had witnessed, I realized that this wasn't just about a hidden world beneath the ice or the ancient structures that had been sealed away for centuries. This was about the spiritual battle of our time. The forces of darkness were at work, but the light was stronger. And the people who stood in that light, those who were open to the truth, to the message that had been revealed to me, would not be deceived. They would stand firm in their faith, knowing that the battle for their souls was not yet over. This was only the beginning. As I looked out into the world, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The truth was like a beacon, a light in the darkness that could not be extinguished. It had been shown to me, and now it was my responsibility to share it, to spread it far and wide, to help others see the way. The world was about to face trials, but those who stood strong in their faith would be prepared. And together we would face whatever came next. But this wasn't the end of the journey. It was only the beginning of something even greater, something that would continue to unfold with every new revelation, every new truth that was uncovered. There was still so much more to discover, so much more to learn, and I knew that with each step, we would get closer to understanding the full picture. If you found this message powerful and life-changing, I invite you to continue watching the next video. It will be revelatory in your life, shedding light on even more truths that will shape your understanding of everything that's coming. Simply click on the video that's appearing on your screen now to keep this journey going. And if you want to continue being blessed, make sure to leave a like and comment Amen below. By doing so, you'll continue to stay connected and blessed on this journey with us. Thank you for being part of this community. We're just getting started.